Well, Shaun, a comprehensive victory, but will you be disappointed with the amount of errors that you conceded today?
Yeah, it was a poor performance in the first half. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think we completed at something like 50%, and I think our opposition were 39%. So, there's a number of penalties as well. It was a stop-start first 40, and I was really I was disappointed in the fact that I don't think we showed enough respect. That's what upset me as a coach with the team. Not so much the way we played. I think we had a lack of respect for our opposition today, and I think that showed in our attitude in the first 40 minutes. And they needed a little wake-up call, and they got it. And I thought our second period was tremendous to score, 30 points to 4 in the second half. And, really, we just totally dominated that second period. So I was much happier with that. But we need to start a bit better, I think, in games.
Any particular reason for not showing them the respect they deserve?
No, I think part of it is maybe there's not a fear of failure in the players at the moment. I think maybe they think they feel they can just turn up and control the game, and they have no fear of making mistakes. If they do make mistakes, they know they'll get another opportunity. And I think I've got to try and shake that out of them, because someday soon a side's going to take advantage of that. And I'm not one of those people that likes to do the old "I told you so." I'd rather try and prevent it before that occurs. So, we're trying to challenge ourselves every week. We've won our first 3 games comfortably. We've now got to play those 3 teams again in the sort of, I guess, the second stage of this round or this round robin that we play. And I'm sure that those teams that we play will be much improved. And I'd like to think that we could be. I think we've got to be more improved also.
Even though perhaps for around about an hour you weren't so good, for around about 20 or so minutes you were devastating with around about, I think, 30 points second half all.
Yeah, and it's probably the second week in a row that I'm standing in front of you and saying we did that. And, to me, that's not quite good enough. As I said, I think we need to start better in games. You can't expect just to take the field in any game of rugby league, doesn't matter who you're playing against. You can't expect just to walk on the field and expect to be dominant from the opening stanza and convert that dominance into points in the early exchanges. And I think that's, again, that's something we need to work on. I think we have to be a little more patient at times. I think we've got to play with a bit more composure. And you could clearly see today that when we did that in the second half, we were a very good team, and we're able to score points, and we nullified pretty much everything they threw at us.
In terms of player-wise, Jordan Turner, first senior hat-trick for him, and I thought Stephen Ratchford did exceptionally well coming off the bench.
Yeah, and Stephen was probably a little unlucky not to make the team the opening game against Rochdale, but I thought Richard Myler just outplayed him, and Stephen got a chance today, and I had a look at him playing with Johnny as a combination. Then I had a look at Stephen and Richard Myler playing as a combination. So they did some good things, but Stephen certainly grabbed his opportunity with both hands, and that's it's put me under a bit of pressure now for Friday.
And have you going to have any changes in mind for Friday already? Have you got to assess that in the morning? Is there anybody in or out definitely as we speak at this time?
I think we've got through today's game all right, but there's a chance that Chris Borghese and Andrew Brocklehurst might be available. So if they are, that's going to pose a few questions for me. I'll just have to wait and see. It's a short turnaround for us. We go from Sunday to Friday, so a couple of fresh faces back might be just what we need.
Would you like to comment any further on the James Jimenez situation? I believe you're going to be saying something officially during the week. Would there be anything you'd like to say now in terms of that situation? There's been a few rumours going around that he may have left the club.
Well, I can say something officially now. He has left the club. He has gone home to Australia. We're all very, very disappointed in James. Not disappointed in the fact that the reasons he gave were personal reasons, but the fact that he'd had, the club had invested some time and effort and money in. And my biggest disappointment is that I know that Jimmy would have been a real good player for us this year, and without doubt we would have offered him a Super League deal. If we were to get a franchise, he would be a player that we would offer a Super League deal to. So, he has to live with that. That's his decision. This has been ongoing for a few weeks, I've got to say. It's not something that's happened just at the drop of a hat. It's something that's been ongoing discussions with myself and with Steve Sims, Director of Rugby, and also even one meeting with the Chairman. And we've really worked very, very hard to keep James at the club. And, he just made a decision that he needed to go home. I don't want to go on the reasons why. I think that's a bit unfair on him. and that should be private. But we are disappointed, and we start the search now. We will replace him. I'm absolutely sure of that. We will replace him, but at the moment there's nobody in mind because this has happened. I won't say it's a shock because I've thought for about 3 weeks that it might have been a chance that would happen, but I didn't really want to be necessarily prepared straight away for it. I was kind of hoping we could talk him round, but now that we haven't, the search goes on for the search begins for another player.
Should you get into Super League with a franchise, would there be any chance of him coming back perhaps to compete in that franchise bid?
Well, you know, my experience is you never close a door and you leave options open, but I don't know the answer to that. It's a long way away. I guess we'd have to discuss that firstly if we get a franchise, that's the most important thing, and then if Jimmy wanted to come back. You know, I don't know the answers to either of those, so I guess that's a bit far. You know, it's too far down the line for us to tell.
Paul, you'll obviously be disappointed with that defeat, but were you more disappointed with the amount of handling errors that you made today?
Yeah, not just the handling errors. We came in at half-time. Our completion rate was 7 from 20, which is an amazing figure, and the fact that we were still in the game at, it was only 18-4 at half-time. That speaks volumes for the players' commitments and the defence. We've got a lot to work on in attack. I was disappointed again to come in on the back of a penalty count. We were 8-4 down on that as well. So, you know, it all points towards a lot of positives in terms of defence, but we've got a lot to learn with the ball. However, the easiest thing to do in this game is to sort out your attacking skills. The defence is the most important part of the game, and as I say, I was happy with that in the first half.
Your second half penalty count was quite hefty against you as well. How much did that play a part in proceedings?
Yeah, it plays a part. It's something that we've got to look at. The silly penalties, the niggly penalties, it's not acceptable. We've got to put that right, and you know, we've got to work with the powers that be at the Rugby League as well and discuss things and try and get it right.
Up until around about half an hour of the game gone, you were still in it too. Andy Saywell tries put you well and truly in contention today. Yeah,
I think we started the second half strong. I think the sort of mid-20, 30-minute onslaught from Salford, I think that was always going to happen. I think, when Salford are playing the likes of ourselves, Oldham, Rochdale, they've always got that 20, 30 minutes in them where they can tear you apart. And I honestly believe that, looking at Salford's performance there, I think that they're not a million miles away from giving somebody an absolute hammering, and I think it's going to happen somewhere around the corner. I just hope it's not us a week on Friday.
Knowing that you knew that they were going to come strong in the last 20 minutes, half an hour, how does a side prepare for that when you're sort of a semi-pro team? I mean, it's obviously, you know it's coming, but just how can you actually prep for it when the game comes?
It's the best preparation in the world. There's no pressure on the players. It's the sort of game that they want to play in. They want to play against better players. I want to test myself out against better coaching staff. It's that's what we're in the game for. We love games like this, and again, we've got Rochdale next week, but a week on Friday we've got another big challenge away at the Willows, so it's one that we're looking forward to.
You've had a rotation policy throughout this tournament. Will that rear its head again for next week's game at Rochdale, and indeed again with Salford game in a couple of weeks' time?
Well, first of all, when you look into the actual rotations, the majority of the rotations have been for a reason. It's either a player's had work commitments or a niggling injury. The last thing I want to do is to get to the end of this competition and have a shed full of injuries in my back garden there. I want to keep my squad healthy. Now, I'll have to assess it tomorrow night at training and just see exactly where everybody's at, and that's when I'll start thinking about the team for next week.